Maintaining physical ability and function is one of the hallmarks of good quality of life. However, very often as people age, they will have some decline in their physical ability or their function. Now, this could be secondary to a sedentary lifestyle, or it could be secondary to some underlying developing medical condition. So for these reasons, having declining physical ability is associated with an increased risk of mortality, which means death. So in this video, I review the extent of this risk and how exercise can help. Hi, I'm Dr. Edmond Cleeman. I'm an orthopedic surgeon here in New York City. I specialize in arthroscopic surgery and sports medicine. How can we evaluate someone's physical ability or function? And so there are specific performance tests that we could look at. For example, how quickly can they walk? Or how easily can they get up from a chair? And there was a meta-analysis that looked at these exact two performance tests and correlated them to someone's risk of early death. And so they looked at thousands of patients, and what they found was that if someone had difficulty getting up from a chair, they had a twofold increased risk of early mortality compared to someone who could do it easily. And if someone wasn't able to get up from a chair unassisted, they had a fourfold increased risk of death compared to someone who could get up from a chair easily. This study also looked at speed of walking as another performance test. And here they saw that those people who were the slowest walkers had a threefold increased risk of mortality compared to people who had a faster natural gait, again indicating their physical ability. Rather than just looking at one point in time of someone's physical ability, what about over time? So if someone's physical ability is declining over time, this is a concern that maybe there's some underlying medical condition that's causing it, or that person has become sedentary and that's leading to less ability, less physical ability, and declining medical health. And so they've had studies that have looked at hundreds of people over the age of 65, and they found that if someone's physical ability, and this could be determined by how well they get up from a chair or their speed of walking, if it's declining, those people have more than a twofold increased risk of mortality compared to those people who maintain their physical ability. So let's further explore this association between underlying medical conditions and physical ability. So for example, there was a study that looked at several thousand people who were 65 years and older, and they found that for those people who had moderate to severe physical disability, had over a 1.5 times greater association with coronary heart disease. So again, it could be a little chicken and the egg. Did someone have coronary heart disease and this lead to them having poor physical ability? Or is someone's lifestyle where they're sedentary and they are not physically able, that leads to medical problems? So this poor physical ability can either act as a warning sign to us that there's some underlying medical condition and we need to look into it, or it's an indication to us that, hey, that individual needs to start becoming more physically active to prevent them from having this association. Similarly, many older adults, unfortunately, have to battle with cancer. And so there was a meta-analysis that looked at about 8,000 adults, about 60 years and older. And they found that those who had higher levels of physical function, and that was based on some of these tests that we've talked about, they were associated with about a 60% lower risk of all-cause mortality, meaning death, compared to those who had less functionality. And now this is a two-way association. Bad health diminishes function, or conversely, it's important, to maintain function and strength to provide the body with enough physical reserve, especially when it's fighting for survival. What is the role of exercise? As I've demonstrated in many other videos on this channel, that exercise has been shown to reduce the risk of mortality and increase people's physical function. And for example, there was a study of about 1,500 older adults who were over the age of 65, and they found that those people who were engaged in exercise reduced their risk of mortality by 60%, and they reduced their risk of developing a functional disability by 40%. And this is compared to those people who are not physically active or performing exercise. Even older people who already have a physical limitation, like a problem walking, can reduce their risk of mortality by introducing exercise. And there was a study that found that those people who had a mobility problem, walking problem, and were sedentary had a threefold greater risk of death. But if they implemented exercise and those people were now physically active, but they did have their mobility problem, they only had a twofold increased risk. So they were able to reduce their risk from threefold down to twofold. And so it's really important to add exercise even if you already have some physical limitation. Well, let's wrap up this video and go over a few key points. Number one, physical performance measures such as how fast someone walks, how easily they can get up from a chair, can help identify older people who have physical limitations and are therefore at increased risk for mortality. Number two, it's likely that reduced physical function is secondary to some underlying medical condition, or conversely, because someone is sedentary, not physically active, they then develop these functional limitations, which then lead to health problems. Number three, therefore, those people who have been identified to have reduced physical function, they should be more closely evaluated to see if there's some underlying medical condition that might be leading to this. And finally, number four, of course, adding exercise to your daily routine can help reduce the risk of mortality and improve your physical function. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please click the like button below and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you in my next video or in my office.